Hey everybody, and welcome back to our looking at the book of Acts and imagining what it might be like if it was a dramatic television series. So we're in about the middle of Acts 5, and last time we left off with the untimely death of Annanias and Sapphira and the gasp and shock that that caused in the community and in the gathering where that happened. Carrying on, the next scene, it opens up on two men walking down a busy road in Jerusalem, and one looks resolute and serious, staring straight forward as he's walking along. The other looks agitated, panicked, and afraid even. What the heck, Thaddeus? Depending on what our rating is for this series, we might want to use a different word, I don't know. What are you getting me mixed up in here? I don't know if I can feel safe. If Peter just has the power to say a few words and two people drop dead like flies? Thaddeus says, it wasn't Peter, Samuel. It was God. You need to remember that. But Samuel continues, well, that's even worse. At least I can avoid getting close to Peter, but if God himself is starting to knock people dead, I'm not a very good person, Thaddeus. And Thaddeus smiles a little, and knowing that is precisely why you belong to this community, Samuel. But listen, it wasn't what they did, those two. It's that they forgot who's at the center of this. Here we are, these last few months, we've seen amazing things, haven't we? People eating together and meeting in homes and in the temple. We've been studying and speaking. We've been seeing miracles happen. The poor being taken care of, and those who have little or no hope getting a new lease on life. And it's growing and it's exciting. But at the center of all this is God. It's His generosity. Annanias and Sapphira lost sight of that. They got caught up in the what and forgot the who. It's just like Achan. Who? Says Samuel. And now we'll have a scene of Thaddeus kind of recounting the story of Achan from the Old Testament. And it's, you know, shortly after the Battle of Jericho, the Israelites were supposed to destroy all the loot and everything else. But Achan kept some stuff for himself. Part of what I always found humorous about the Achan story, this is a total aside, is that he kept a jacket, a fine robe for himself. He's in the people of Israel, and he's hiding this in his tent. When does he think he's going to get to wear this robe? The second he wears it, he's kind of busted. Anyway, so Achan does this, and the people of Israel kind of like aren't blessed because of it, and they go through, you know, casting lots and figuring out, and they come to Achan, and he confesses that he did this, and he actually gets stoned to death. So we'll have Thaddeus telling this story of Achan, and maybe we'll have some graphic, you know, television scenes of this kind of bloodshed that happened in the past. And there's a parallel there of this new community beginning, and yet someone's sin is there messing with it and everything else. Okay, story of Achan just happened in Jericho. Okay, Samuel continues. I'm not going anywhere, Thaddeus, but there are some, even those who would believe, they're keeping a distance, having heard about this with Annanias and Sapphira, and they're afraid of such great power. And then Thaddeus says, and look, and here they are. And there in front of them, they join into another street that is all approaching the temple. And there's Peter and John and another man also walking towards the temple. And there's people just lining the streets, crowds, people calling out to them, and especially Peter. And it's almost like a rock star entourage. People are bringing their sick and wanting to touch him, and it's noisy and bustling. And someone cries out, if only his shadow would pass over us. And then we zoom in now to Peter and John on his right, and on the left there's another man, and he's saying to Peter and John, can you believe it? This is happening. The power of God all around us moving, man, this is exciting. And John smiles, but he's pondering this deeply, and Peter looks more resolute and maybe a little bit worried and says, it is good. We asked for God to stretch out His hand, to shower even more grace, to display His authority. And He has, and it is good. But when authority is claimed in the name of the one who truly it belongs to, the authorities of this world will not go quietly. Then the next scene, Peter and John have now arrived in the temple courts, and the rest of the apostles, and there's a large crowd, like think music festival style crowd, thousands of people even, gathered there, and the sick and afflicted are being brought to them, and Peter in particular, and maybe we see a person who's possessed and doesn't want to go, being dragged before Peter, and he casts out this demon in the name of Jesus, and then a calm comes over him. And Peter keeps reminding the people that it isn't him who's doing this, but it's Jesus, who God gave authority over all the powers. And then in the back of the crowd, somewhere where the camera scans over, and we see a handful of religious authorities, you know, the types with the robes and the nice hats, and we can't hear what they're saying, but one of them looks extremely agitated, and he's waving his hands and motioning, and then he turns and starts stomping away, mad, towards the temple administration area with the others following him. And then the next thing we see, next scene,